Bryce Trylko, Sons of UCF, 2,624 miles. That's the distance between the Bounce House in Orlando and Albertson Stadium in Boise, Idaho. And that is the next stop for UCF's equipment truck. Heads out Tuesday night, due in Friday by 10 a.m. Spoke with Director of Equipment Brad Anderson, who says a lot of things have to come together before this truck is ready to roll. All right, let's start with this. How did the opening night go, game-wise? And from an equipment standpoint, how did you guys do?
Everything was good with the new gold helmets and night mode uniforms. First game, it's always have the nervous energy of getting the game going, getting the first game under your belt. You go through fall camp, you go through spring ball, and finally you're just like the players. They're ready to hit somebody else. We're ready to play an actual game that matters. So finally getting out there, and obviously with it being home and us being able to have everybody out there from a player perspective as well as fans, and thankfully it wasn't 2 years ago Boise where it was a 2.5 hour rain delay. So, but no, everything as long as the game goes off and you don't hear about us, it's considered a success.
But with this fan base, people are really interested when you drop something on social media. What's it feel like to be a bit of a rock star for what you do? People are really dialed into what you do.
Trust me, I don't want to be a rock star. I want to work behind the scenes. I want to be in the shadows. I'm on Twitter because recruits like it, our players like it, our coaching staff is very big on Twitter. But if you don't hear from us, if you don't hear about us, it's considered a success. Like when Gasparilla Bowl, when we played Florida and the helmets got stuck together. Those are moments that you hate as an equipment guy. You don't want those moments. You don't want to be up on the big screen. You don't want to be on TV. You don't want to be talked about by the announcers. You want to make sure that no helmets are coming off, no cleats are blowing out, everybody's name on the back is spelled correctly on the front of the jersey. You don't want to be known. But in the age of social media and with how many different uniform combinations we have, obviously with the space game, the recruits really enjoy it, and so being able to showcase who we are when they're off campus, whether they're in South Florida or Georgia or even California, they could all of a sudden see me post something on Twitter and, oh, well, I didn't know UCF was doing that. And so being able to connect to the fans and to the recruits, that's what it's all about. But I don't want to be a rock star. I want to work in the shadows. Don't want to ever be known that I was doing anything.
Helps, of course, that the opener was on Thursday by design, and then that second game is at Boise. When do you guys start working to put things together when that game ends?
Oh, it would happen even way before the last game ended, because with the bowl game this past year, we wore the white uniforms. White uniforms were given to the guys after the bowl game. So really, as soon as we knew we were wearing white, we went ahead and went in and placed a jersey order. So when it happened 8 months in advance, we're really working for that first away game 8 months in advance. And then transfer portal happens and some numbers change. All of a sudden we had two guys that we thought were going to be here for the long haul, and both of them transferred away. We got new transfers in that wore that number that are completely different size. So it's really being able to know what you have coming in from a jersey, from an apparel perspective, being able to make those changes. But it happens way before one game starts or one game ends. But as far as packing the truck goes, what's today? Monday? We started packing the truck earlier today. The truck will leave tomorrow and get to Boise by Friday morning.
You have a pretty sophisticated packing list, don't you? do you get nervous about it, or it's just routine now and you go through?
No, you have such high anxiety. Like, you sent me a Twitter post the other day that whoever, I forget who it was that was playing Air Force, they forgot their uniforms. And don't get me wrong, there have been times where we're playing the team out that's really in West Florida, then you forget something and you can drive back that night and pick it up and drive back before kickoff, and no one's any wiser. But going out to Boise, you really have to be on top of it. You have to double check everything, triple check everything, and make sure that when it comes to those jerseys, to those pants, to the helmets, extra decals, you're really making sure that, not to put an emphasis on Boise and make it that it's so much further that we do things that we don't usually do for a game that's in Tampa, but you have a little bit of a relief if it's a little bit closer. And by the time you're unpacking the truck in Memphis or in Philadelphia, by the time you're unpacking the truck, we're still here. So if we're forgetting something, hey, we forgot so-and-so's shoulder pads, we forgot so-and-so's helmet, make sure it gets on the plane. It's a lot easier. We're leaving before we even open the truck in Boise. So just making sure that everything is up to snuff, and you're double checking absolutely everything. It's I have high anxiety whether we're going to Tampa or whether we're going to Boise, Idaho. So it's but no, you don't have the checklist, and making sure that everything's where it needs to be. It could definitely be more nerve-wracking.
This isn't Greenville anymore. This isn't a trip to New Orleans. What goes in now to this trip? You leave Tuesday.
Yep.
You've got the mileage down. You're driving from this stadium to Boise Stadium.
We have great partners with Sorensen, who's doing our trucking again this year. They were corporate sponsors with us the past 2 years, and now they're doing our trucking again for us again this year. And so being familiar with your drivers, being familiar with the people you're working with, making sure that they understand that the intricacies that go into the travel, because a lot of truck drivers, you're driving from a warehouse to a warehouse. It's all highway driving. Here you're going into college towns. You're going into small, intricate areas where you may have to back a truck up 18 times to be able to get it down a tunnel that you didn't even know you could get it down. So being able to go from warehouse to warehouse is a lot easier than going from college campus to college campus. It's not just highway driving. You're driving through small towns. You're driving through middle of nowhere, middle of America. And so it's having good partners, having good truck drivers that that you trust. We have a GPS system that we track the truck every step of the way. We know how fast they're going. We know how slow they're going. We know if they've hit traffic. We have a geotag that the minute they leave UCF, the minute they arrive in Boise, Idaho, we get all of that information. So we know exactly where the truck is at all point in time to make sure that if you're sitting there for 4.5 hours and we haven't gotten a phone call, well, why are you guys sitting there? What happened? Did a tire blow? Did this happen? And we've been very fortunate that if there were any issues, our drivers have been able to take care of it rather quickly and be able to get us back on the road. And but making sure that they understand the time crunch that you're in, because we are leaving Tuesday to get there for the game on Saturday, but we still have a walkthrough and we still have other things going on here that, okay, well, now stuff that we usually put on the truck because we were only going to Philadelphia, well, now that stuff's flying. So making sure that, again, you're double checking everything, having good partners, having good student help, having good assistance, making sure that everything that you're doing is really double checked and it's not just one set of eyes on it. We have 15 student managers, 3 full-time equipment managers. We'll all take a look at everything to make sure, because my mind may be somewhere else and I'm looking in a bag and I see something. Well, no, those aren't the cleats that Josh wears on game day. He wants these cleats. Or no, John Rice told me he wanted to have this in his bag. So it's just little things like that it really does. I say it all the time on Twitter. It takes a village, and it really does take a village to be able to make this whole thing run.
So they leave Tuesday. What's the trip look like? How long does it take them to get to Boise?
We always plan on getting to the stadium 10 a.m. on Friday morning to unload. So they will be pulling into Boise at that 10 a.m. mark on Friday. And we always add in a little bit of buffer time so that they can stop, get food, make sure that they're not driving just 48 hours straight and not being able to take a break, and it's only a break for gas. We want to build in that time for them so it doesn't seem as terrible of a job, but it takes a special breed to be able to drive a truck. I couldn't do it. But yeah, we really tell them, just don't care what happens, as long as everything is safe, you guys aren't breaking any laws, not getting pulled over, and everything's ready to roll come 10 a.m. Friday morning to unload. And
then you've got the new wrap on the truck, so they're a moving billboard across America this week.
Yeah. That's positives and negatives with that. Positives and negatives. I was at a school before this, and we never wrapped the truck because people would mess with the truck. It's also a really good thing that we're going into Big 12 country driving all around Big 12 country, people see the Orlando, greetings from Orlando. Okay, well, maybe we'll take a trip there. And now it helps with the tourism and bringing people to the bounce house, bringing people to Orlando. So it really is a great thing to be able to express that. But on the flip side, you blow a tire, you're on the side of the road. The amount of texts that I've gotten from people that, what's going on with your equipment truck? And it's sitting on the side of the road with a blown tire. So positives and negatives, but being able to showcase our brand throughout the entire country, and especially Big 12 country, because not many times we've gone out to the middle of Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, all those places. So being able to have that moving billboard, it's also very, very good for the Orlando community, tourism here, bringing people to UCF.
This is a preview of coming attractions now. You're not talking just Big 12 country of Oklahoma and Texas. That now includes Arizona, Colorado,
Yep.
Utah. There are going to be more trips like this in the future for you and your crews.
Oh yeah, and the one positive is now we'll be seasoned vets by the time Arizona State come by, because we've gone to Boise on a trip. We've done those long road trips. So okay, well, what did we succeed with? What did we not succeed with? Where can we get better? did we pack too much? Did we pack too little? Like, what were those things that when we went to Boise in September, if we're going to Arizona in December or in November, what does that look like? Do we need to make sure that we have all the cold weather stuff? But being able to have that long away trip really benefits us moving forward when we do go to Colorado and Arizona State, Utah. When we go to those places, we'll already have that under our belt, where a lot of those teams that are coming from the Pac-12 may not have that experience of coming to the East Coast. And the other good thing, we're always going to be gaining hours going to the West Coast. They're losing hours coming to the East Coast. So now that's going to affect their trip, their travel, more than it's going to really affect ours, because we're gaining hours on them.
Have you had conversations with your colleagues at these other schools yet about what goes into this?
We usually try to do it about a week before we play them. So like we had meetings over the off season with all the Big 12 equipment managers. We were out in Oklahoma City for the equipment manager conference, as well as Power 5 meetings. So we've all talked about it, and Texas, Oklahoma, they're like, oh man, like our travels. We're glad we don't have to come to you this year, because now they're going to next year they'll be in the SEC. But a lot of those other teams, like I was talking to BYU's equipment guy, and he's like, we have the nicest fans in the world out here. It's just going to take you a heck of a long time to get out here. And so we've definitely talked about it, and we exchanged the locker room layouts, and hey, we have this many lockers, this many coaches' lockers, this is what the equipment room, training room area looks like. This is the easiest way to get on campus. So we definitely talk about it, but we really hammer down those specifics come usually Monday of game week.
You talked about quirks of stadiums. I was in New Orleans twice last year. It's so tight moving this truck next to the stadium. That stands out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Just how tight that is, right next to neighborhoods.
Oh, yeah. And that, again, going back to the little intricacies of being able to drive through those towns, and not that New Orleans is a college town, but being able to not go warehouse to warehouse. A lot of the warehouses are usually on the outskirts of town, where you're getting off the highway driving into it, but being able to drive through those smaller communities, being able to drive through those college towns, it's a different feel. And now we're going to the more traditional college towns, where Temple was in Philly. You had New Orleans, you had Houston, like Houston's still in the conference, but you know what I mean. We're going to those more traditional college towns of
tighter corners on the roads.
Norman, Oklahoma, Stillwater, Oklahoma. So it's definitely it'll be fun, but being able to have good partners and good truck drivers who understand exactly what's needed and what's to be done, it all helps out.
And when a game ends and the final whistle, fans are either celebrating or they're lamenting the defeat. You guys are absolutely frenetic. You're running around.
Yep.
Just talk a little bit about that. What goes in? You're immediately grabbing helmets, and you're starting to put everything together because you got to come back.
Oh, it's I've lost a lot of games in my career. I'm gonna lose many more games. It's when the game ends, whether you win, whether you lose. I always tell the kids, don't wear it on your sleeves. The players, they're the ones that fought in the game. We're spectators. We help them get to the field. We help them stay on the field. But we are not the reason. Hopefully, we are not the reason why they won or lost the game. And so make sure that we're still doing our job, because again, and I'm sure that you've heard it 100 times from Coach Malzahn, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose. It's all about how you present yourself and making sure that you're doing that in a manner that's respectful to the university, to your coaching staff, to your teammates, and really just making sure that if you get caught up in your emotions, you could leave a helmet behind. You could leave a trunk behind. And especially, we're lucky this year that we don't have 2 back-to-back away games. We do, but there's a bye week in between. That we don't have 2 back-to-back away games. But if you forget a trunk in a city and you're not going anywhere near that city again, well, how are you going to get that back? So you really have to put emotions aside, and then whether you're on the plane, whether you're on the bus, whether you're driving back, like that's when you can look at your emotions and say, man, like I wish that we could have won that one. And you always hope that you can go 14, 15, and 0 throughout the college football season. It's not usually how it goes. Very few teams have ever done that. But making sure that you don't get caught up in those emotions so you don't forget anything, and you're making sure that the players who fought in that game and who battled in that game, they're not, well, I let you down. Well, no, you didn't let us down. Like you made us extremely proud going out there fighting the way that you did. We're here for you guys. We're here first and foremost to make sure that you guys can get on the field, stay on the field. We need to make sure that we're still able to do that a week from now when we have to pack the truck, when we have to go to the next away game, when we have to pack up to come back home. So making sure that everything is, you're holding yourself in that manner that you don't get caught up in those emotions. That's extremely, extremely hard. Like you want to let out a good cry every once in a while when you lose the championship game and you have to fly back that night. Yeah, it sucks. But at the same time, you hope that you'll be in that position again to be able to go back and make sure that next time you win that game. And same thing with the players. I'm sure that they feel the exact same way, that no one's letting each other down when you lose a game. It's all about helping lift everybody up, and okay, it's going to be okay. It's a football game. At the end of the day, it's a football game, and let's get on to the next one, and let's beat the crap out of the next team we play.
What's the goal at the end of the game? How long until you want to be on the road again?
For away games, by the time Coach Malzahn is ready to get on the bus. And so whether we have the post-game interviews with the players, we want to make sure that we are not the reason why the team is not able to leave the stadium. So we usually have somebody who advances, who goes early, and they'll typically stay that night after the game to help clean up the locker room and everything. But aside from just making sure that we're not the reason why the team can't leave, we also don't want to leave the locker room a mess for the home team, because they're eventually going to come to us, and we want them to treat us with the same respect that you leave it how you found it. So typically when you walk into the visiting locker room, it's clean, everything's tidy, everything's put away. You want to make sure that you give it back to them the same way that they gave it to you. And sometimes it's difficult, and especially after those hard losses, and do you want to pick up that third water bottle that's on the ground, or that 7th piece of tape? No, but you know that you have to, because they're going to be coming back and you need to pay it forward to them.
Give us a sneak peek of the uniforms at Boise. You're playing against Boise State on that blue field. What's going to look good contrasted against that blue field?
We're gonna have helmets. We're gonna have jerseys. We're gonna have pants. There's your preview.
You're not giving. So you're definitely not going to answer a space game related question if you're not giving me anything on Boise State.
I didn't even know we did a space game.
But you take a lot of pride in what
100%.
you do, and you know the role you and all the folks that are part of your team
Yep.
do to make sure UCF looks its best and is prepared.
100%, and it's not just me. Like I said before, it's my entire team. 3 full-time equipment managers, 15 student managers. They put in just as many hours as we do. It takes a village, and one person can't pack this truck alone. One person can't spot every ball out of practice. One person can't make sure that everything that goes into getting the game right is it takes a village. And so making sure that you have those people in place, and we're in a really, really good spot now with our staff, and making sure that, again, you're picking each other up when if you spotted on the left hash and it was supposed to be on the right hash. Well, okay, well, just get better next time. Like don't be a duck, let it roll off your back, and don't worry about it. And we have a really, really good group of kids that gets that the emotions out on the field are a lot different than the emotions in the building. And so you need to make sure that you hold yourself with that sense of pride, and that making sure you're never letting the department down, making sure you're never letting anybody down, because the biggest thing that we can do to let these people down is making sure that a name is spelled wrong, you're not wearing the correct number, you're not wearing the correct type of cleats. Like that's our job, to make sure that they're feeling as good as they can, so they can go out to perform, whether it's Coach Malzahn, whether it's Coach Hinshaw, Addy, whoever it is, John Rice, it doesn't matter who it is, making sure that everybody's as comfortable as possible so that when they go out there, but it truly does take a village.
Appreciate your time. Let you get back to your packing list.
Thank you very much.
As soon as the game ends Saturday night in Boise and everything is packed up, this truck hits the road again, due back here in Orlando at the Bounce House on Tuesday. For the Sons of UCF, I'm Trylko.